Did you ever pause to consider that the very act of intimacy, a source of joy and connection throughout life, might quietly begin to levy a different kind of toll on the body, particularly for men as the years advance? For many older gentlemen, the landscape of physical closeness isn't quite what it was in their youth, and this shift isn't merely emotional. The physical and mental aftershocks can linger, often in ways that society, and sometimes even individuals themselves, are reluctant to discuss. What's more, the true cost of ignoring these changes occasionally only becomes apparent when it's significantly more challenging to address. This isn't a narrative intended to discourage older adults from seeking or enjoying connection. Far from it. Indeed, maintaining sexual activity in later life can be incredibly beneficial for overall health and well-being. However, just as a seasoned athlete adjusts their training regimen, it's vital to acknowledge that what the body could gracefully handle in its 40s or 50s might come with a new set of considerations, even side effects in one's 70s and beyond. While younger individuals might rapidly bounce back from a night of passion, many older men find themselves grappling with prolonged exhaustion, unexpected discomfort, or even a subtle sense of guilt or confusion, without fully grasping the underlying reasons. Today, we embark on a journey to illuminate 6 profound, often hidden truths. Insights that medical professionals and experienced individuals alike wish more older men understood before engaging in intimacy. These aren't cautionary tales meant to instill fear, but rather beacons of knowledge, designed to shed light on the real-world consequences that arise from the natural interplay of aging hormones, evolving circulatory systems, changes in muscle and tissue recovery, and the ever-deepening well of our emotional lives, particularly as they manifest in the context of our most private connections. This exploration will be handled with the utmost respect, infused with wisdom gleaned from experience and research, and perhaps even a touch of honest, gentle humor. Because the more profoundly you understand what is happening within your own body and mind, the more confident, prepared, and ultimately, the more fulfilled you can be, not just in your intimate moments, but in every facet of your well-being. If you're a man navigating life beyond 60, or someone who cares for one, and you're open to understanding these evolving dynamics, then this comprehensive discussion is crafted especially for you. If you're ready to explore these often unspoken aspects of aging and intimacy, or know someone who might benefit from this understanding, we invite you to continue this journey with us. And if this topic already resonates with your own experiences or curiosity, let us know by liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more insightful content designed to empower and inform. Let's delve into these crucial understandings. 1. The miscalculation of vitality, overestimating energy reserves in later years. One of the most significant, yet frequently overlooked, revelations for many older men is the stark reality that sexual intimacy in the later chapters of life demands a considerably greater investment of physical energy than they might anticipate. Sometimes, profoundly, more. In younger years, a brief nap or a strong cup of coffee might have been sufficient to recharge after an active interlude. However, once a man enters his 60s, 70s, or beyond, that same level of activity can leave him feeling depleted, not just for hours, but potentially for days. This isn't merely a symptom of getting older in a vague sense. It's a direct consequence of tangible physiological shifts. The cardiovascular system, while still capable, may operate with less reserve capacity. Circulation, vital for both arousal and recovery, might be less robust. Muscle recovery processes slow down, and even the brain's neurochemistry, which orchestrates arousal and satisfaction, recalibrates at a more measured pace. Consider the experience of Harold, a 76-year-old gentleman from Illinois, who, along with his wife, continued to cherish a healthy and active intimate life. One evening, after what felt like a wonderfully connecting experience, he awoke the next morning feeling unusually weak and profoundly fatigued. He found himself having to cancel his customary morning walk, a non-negotiable part of his routine, and it took nearly a full week before he felt his usual energy levels return. Initially, Harold was alarmed, his thoughts racing to potential cardiac issues. However, a thorough consultation with his doctor unveiled a less sinister, though still significant, truth. His body simply wasn't recovering from the exertion of intimacy with the same efficiency it once did. His blood pressure had experienced a temporary dip post-activity. His muscles were genuinely tired from the physical engagement, and his autonomic nervous system, responsible for calming the body down, required a longer period to return to its baseline. This scenario underscores why many physicians gently caution older men against underestimating the energetic toll of sexual activity, especially when they are concurrently managing chronic health conditions, taking various medications, which can also influence energy, or even contending with mild, often unnoticed dehydration. And here, the narrative takes a crucial psychological turn. When an individual consistently feels significantly depleted for days following intimacy, it can subtly, almost insidiously, cultivate an anxiety around future sexual encounters. He might begin to subconsciously avoid intimacy, not due to a waning desire or lack of affection for his partner, but born from a burgeoning fear of the protracted exhaustion that follows. Once this fear becomes entwined with the act of lovemaking, confidence can erode, and the body may start to associate intimacy not with pleasure and connection, but with stress and depletion. It's a negative feedback loop that often forms unseen, operating beneath the surface of conscious awareness. So, if you find yourself feeling more thoroughly wiped out after sex than your expectations suggest you should be, please know you are not alone, nor are you broken. You are simply experiencing a natural aspect of aging, and there is profound wisdom in adapting your pace and expectations. Grant your body the time it needs to recover, prioritize hydration, ensure adequate rest, and critically, don't shy away from open, honest conversations with your partner about these experiences. The true strength at this stage of life isn't found in relentlessly pushing through physical limits, but in attentively listening to what your body is communicating and honoring its needs with compassion. This first truth about managing energy is fundamental to sustained well-being and enjoyable intimacy. If understanding the need to recalibrate your energy expectations resonates with you, or if you've experienced this profound shift in recovery time, we invite you to comment with the number 1 below. Sharing your insights helps all of us learn and adapt more gracefully. Number 2, the stealthy saboteurs, unmasking the unseen impacts of common medications on intimacy. Another crucial secret, one that often catches older men by surprise, is the pervasive and frequently underestimated influence that daily medications can exert on sexual function. This interference isn't always as overt as the commonly discussed side effects like diminished libido or difficulties with erectile function, though those are certainly significant. The effects can run deeper, operating more silently and insidiously than most individuals realize, quietly altering the body's intricate dance of arousal and satisfaction. Many common prescription medications, ranging from those diligently taken for blood pressure management and heart conditions, to antidepressants, treatments for benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH, and even seemingly innocuous over-the-counter antihistamines or sleep aids, can subtly yet significantly reduce blood flow to crucial areas, numb nerve sensitivity, or disrupt the body's natural hormonal and neurochemical rhythm, essential for arousal, pleasure, and release. Let's revisit the story of Frank, a 72-year-old widower who, after several years alone, had recently embarked on a new relationship and was navigating the path of rekindling intimacy. When he and his new partner first attempted to connect physically, things didn't unfold as he had hoped or remembered. His body didn't respond with its former alacrity. Overwhelmed by a sense of failure and confusion, Frank immediately turned his disappointment inward, blaming himself. He wondered if he had lost it, if his age had finally caught up to him in this most personal of arenas. However, when he summoned the courage to discuss these concerns with his physician, he discovered that the primary culprit wasn't his age, his emotional state, or a decline in his intrinsic desire. Instead, it was a common blood pressure medication he had been diligently taking for years. A pill he never suspected could have such a profound impact on this aspect of his life. A careful adjustment to his medication regimen, guided by his doctor, led to a noticeable improvement, restoring not only his physical responsiveness, but also his confidence. There's a powerful psychological dimension to this scenario as well. When a man begins to perceive that his body is no longer responding in the ways it once did, he often internalizes this change deeply. Questions about his masculinity, his desirability, even his fundamental worth as a partner can begin to surface. This kind of self-doubt isn't merely an emotional burden. It translates into physiological responses. Stress hormones like cortisol can rise, which can further constrict blood vessels and dampen arousal, creating a vicious cycle where the initial problem is exacerbated by the anxiety it provokes. What is particularly disheartening is that a vast number of men never broach this subject with their healthcare providers. They remain silent, often out of embarrassment, a misplaced sense of pride, or the mistaken belief that this is an inevitable and unchangeable consequence of aging. This silence is tragic because, in many instances, physicians can offer effective solutions, such as adjusting the timing of a dose, modifying the dosage itself, or switching to an alternative medication with a more favorable side effect profile for sexual health. This silence costs men years of potential satisfaction, connection, and emotional well-being. If any part of Frank's story, or this broader description sounds familiar, if you felt frustrated, isolated, or as though you're the only one navigating these challenges, please understand that you are far from alone, and it is not a reflection of any personal failing. The most courageous and empowering step you can take is to speak up. Engage in an open dialogue with your doctor. Ask pointed questions. Your sexual health is an integral component of your overall well-being, and you unequivocally deserve clarity, confidence, and supportive care, not shame or silence. The impact of medication is a crucial piece of this puzzle, one that requires awareness and open communication. If you found this explanation of how medications can subtly yet significantly affect intimacy helpful, please type MedAware in the comments below. Your acknowledgement helps us gauge the relevance of this information. And if you're finding this in-depth discussion valuable, we warmly encourage you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss future content designed to inform and inspire. 3. The evolution of connection. Embracing emotional intimacy's new primacy. One of the most profound and often transformative secrets that many older men wish they had understood sooner is the subtle yet significant evolution of intimacy itself. As the years progress, for many, sex often becomes less about the mechanics of physical performance and more profoundly centered on emotional closeness, shared vulnerability, and deep, resonant connection. This shift isn't indicative of a problem or a decline. Rather, it's an invitation, an opportunity to explore richer, more nuanced dimensions of intimacy. However, it's an invitation that too many men, conditioned by earlier life experiences and societal norms, aren't adequately prepared to accept. Consequently, they may feel as though something essential is broken or missing, when in reality, their needs and the very nature of fulfilling intimacy are simply evolving. It's an undeniable truth that our bodies change as we age. That's no surprise to anyone. But what often catches men off guard is the extent to which their emotional landscape and its role in physical intimacy begins to take center stage. It's not about becoming soft or sentimental in a pejorative sense. It's about embracing authenticity and recognizing that the pathways to arousal and satisfaction may now be more intricately linked to emotional states. A quick, casual physical touch or an encounter devoid of genuine emotional underpinning may no longer spark the same level of excitement or fulfillment it once did. Instead, what truly deepens desire and enhances physical responsiveness is the feeling of being truly seen, emotionally safe, deeply understood, and cherished by one's partner. In fact, numerous studies and anecdotal evidence suggest that when a foundation of emotional warmth, trust, and open communication is present, the body often responds more readily and pleasurably, even amidst other age-related physical changes. Consider Robert, a 76-year-old man who remarried later in life after the passing of his first wife. He shared that in his first marriage, intimacy had often been predictable, sometimes unspoken, and occasionally felt more like a routine than a mutual exploration. However, with his second partner, he discovered something entirely new and enriching. The candid conversations they shared, the moments of mutual vulnerability, the easy laughter that punctuated their days, and the tapestry of shared memories they wove together. All these elements infused their physical intimacy with a richness and an enjoyment he hadn't fully experienced before. He found that he didn't need to perform in the same way. Rather, the emphasis shifted to being fully present, emotionally available, and attuned to his partner. But herein lies a significant challenge for many older men. A large number were raised in an era where emotional openness in men was often discouraged, equated with weakness, or simply not modeled. The prevailing message was frequently to man up, to suppress feelings, and to avoid showing vulnerability at all costs. So, when their partners begin to express a need for greater emotional connection as a prelude to or an integral part of intimacy, or when their own bodies seem to respond more favorably in an atmosphere of emotional safety, they can feel confused, ill-equipped, or even ashamed of these evolving needs. This emotional disconnect, born from old conditioning, can become a silent saboteur of closeness. Some men may withdraw, unsure how to navigate these new emotional currents. Others might attempt to carry on as before, pretending nothing has changed, leading to frustration for both partners. And sadly, some may simply give up on intimacy altogether, misinterpreting this evolution as a definitive end. The truth, however, is that this later stage of life can offer the most rewarding, deeply satisfying kind of closeness if one is willing to open up, lean into vulnerability, and cultivate emotional attunement. Emotional intimacy doesn't necessarily require grand, dramatic gestures, lengthy therapy sessions, though therapy can be helpful for some, or the sudden composition of romantic poetry. More often, it's about the consistent practice of paying gentle attention, of daring to share how you genuinely feel, even if it's uncomfortable or unfamiliar territory, and of cultivating a little more patience and understanding, both with yourself and your partner. These are the seemingly small things that make the profound difference between merely having sex and truly feeling loved, connected, and cherished. So, if you've been sensing that something is missing in your intimate life, or wondering why things don't feel the way they used to, perhaps the primary shift isn't in your physical body at all. Perhaps it's your heart and your partner's heart, quietly asking for a deeper, more authentic connection. And once you grant yourself permission to lean into that, to explore that emotional landscape, everything else often follows more naturally and joyfully than you might imagine. This shift towards valuing and cultivating emotional intimacy is a profound one, often marking a new depth in relationships. If you agree that emotional connection becomes even more vital and enriching with age, or if you are consciously working on strengthening this aspect in your own life, we encourage you to share your thoughts by commenting with the keyword connection below. We genuinely value hearing your diverse perspectives and experiences. Number 4, the conspiracy of silence, medications, unvoiced concerns, and the taboo of truth. While we've touched upon the direct physiological ways medications can interfere with sexual function, there's a related, equally critical secret that plagues many older men: the pervasive silence surrounding these effects. It's not just that the medications can cause issues, it's that this information is often not proactively shared, and men, in turn, are often hesitant to ask. This creates a conspiracy of silence, where a significant health and quality of life issue remains shrouded in embarrassment, misunderstanding, and missed opportunities for solutions. A vast number of older men simply don't realize the full extent to which their daily prescriptions might be subtly eroding their sexual vitality until the impact is undeniable and often deeply distressing. The core of this problem isn't always the medication itself, which may be essential for managing a serious health condition, but the profound lack of open routine conversation about its potential repercussions on intimate life. Think about it. How often does a physician, when prescribing a new medication for hypertension or cholesterol, initiate a detailed discussion about its possible effects on libido, erectile function, or orgasmic capacity, unless specifically prompted? While some doctors are excellent in this regard, systemic pressures in healthcare, limited consultation times, and sometimes an assumption that sexual health is a lower priority for older patients can lead to this oversight. Conversely, many men, conditioned by societal norms that equate virility with masculinity, feel intense shame or embarrassment admitting to sexual difficulties. They fear being perceived as less of a man, or worry about bothering their doctor with what they might consider a non-essential issue, especially when compared to life-threatening conditions. And so, the cycle of silence perpetuates. Doctors may not volunteer the information, and men, steeped in a culture that often stigmatizes male vulnerability, don't ask. Let's consider the story of George, an 81-year-old man who shared his experience within the safe confines of a senior men's support group. For years, he had been silently blaming himself for what he perceived as a dwindling interest in his wife. He felt guilty, inadequate, and confused, assuming it was just an inevitable consequence of his advanced age or a personal failing. It was only after years of quiet distress that he finally mustered the courage to mention these changes to his doctor. To his astonishment, he learned that one of his long-term medications was a well-known contributor to the very issues he was experiencing. A simple switch in his prescription, not even ceasing treatment for his underlying condition, but merely changing to a different class of drug or brand, helped restore not only a significant measure of his previous sexual responsiveness, but, just as importantly, his confidence and the strained connection with his wife. His relief was palpable, but it was tinged with regret for the years lost to misunderstanding and silence. This scenario is far from unique. Medications like beta blockers and certain diuretics, commonly prescribed for blood pressure, can indeed reduce blood flow systemically, which naturally affects erectile capacity. Antidepressants, particularly SSRIs, are notorious for potential side effects like delayed orgasm or reduced libido. Cholesterol-lowering statins and various medications for prostate issues can also alter hormone levels or disrupt nerve signaling in ways that subtly impact sexual function. Yet, this vital information often remains in the fine print of patient leaflets, unread or unheeded, until a problem becomes too significant to ignore. This is knowledge that every man over 60, and indeed any man taking long-term medication, should possess. If your sex drive has inexplicably changed, if your body isn't cooperating in the bedroom the way it used to, don't automatically resign yourself to it or internalize blame. Take a proactive step. Review your medicine cabinet, note down your medications, and schedule a dedicated conversation with your doctor to ask direct questions. You have an undeniable right to understand what these drugs are doing to your entire body, including its capacity for intimacy. Remember, adjusting medication doesn't necessarily mean compromising your primary health treatment. In many cases, viable alternatives, dosage adjustments, or different scheduling strategies exist that can preserve sexual function while effectively managing your underlying health condition. But this exploration begins with breaking the silence, being honest with yourself, and, crucially, with your healthcare provider. Breaking this conspiracy of silence around medication side effects is absolutely vital for holistic health and well-being. If you believe in the power and necessity of open, frank conversations with healthcare providers about this often sensitive topic, please comment with the number 4 below. Your engagement helps us to continue tackling these important, sometimes challenging subjects. And if you haven't already, a simple like on this video would be immensely appreciated as it helps others find this information. 5. The perils of proving it, ignoring the body's wisdom and the need for rest. A deeply ingrained societal narrative, often internalized by men from a young age, is the pressure to perform, to demonstrate vigor and capability, especially in the realm of intimacy. For many older men, this pressure doesn't simply vanish with age. In some cases, it can even intensify, leading them to feel they need to prove they've still got it. This drive, whether it originates from within, a desire to recapture youthful prowess, or from perceived external expectations, often leads to a dangerous tendency, ignoring the body's clear, albeit sometimes subtle signals for rest and moderation. This disregard for physiological cues can quietly build into much larger issues, ranging from profound exhaustion and an increased risk of falls to irregular heartbeats or even significant strain on the cardiovascular system during or immediately after sexual activity. Here's a fundamental truth that needs to be embraced. Your body after 70, 80, or beyond isn't inherently weaker in a pejorative sense. It is, however, demonstrably different. Your cardiovascular endurance, the speed of your muscle recovery, your body's hydration requirements, and its overall stress response mechanisms all operate on a revised timeline and with different parameters than they did in your 40s or 50s. Intimacy, at its best, is intended to be an expression of connection, warmth, playfulness, and mutual trust. When men lose sight of this and instead begin chasing the ghost of their past energy levels, fixating on performance metrics rather than presence and connection, they run a tangible risk of causing harm to themselves, both physically and emotionally. There was the poignant case of Arthur, a 78-year-old man who, to his shock and his family's alarm, ended up in the emergency room. It wasn't, as initially feared, due to a heart attack, but rather from severe dehydration and a sudden, alarming drop in blood pressure that occurred shortly after an intimate encounter with his partner. Upon review, it turned out he hadn't eaten adequately that day, had consumed insufficient water, and had taken his full dose of blood pressure medication a bit too close to the activity, all while trying to keep up with a pace that his body was no longer equipped to handle without careful preparation. He had thought, as he often did, that he could simply push through, a mantra from his younger years. But his body, on this occasion, vehemently disagreed. And it's not solely about the acute physical risks. Emotionally, older men can experience profound guilt, frustration, or a sense of inadequacy if they require more time to recover than they deem acceptable, or if they feel they can't consistently meet their own or their partner's perceived expectations. This internal stress, paradoxically, can further impede performance and desire, creating a negative feedback loop that leaves both individuals feeling disconnected and dissatisfied. The lesson here is clear and vital. Sex in older age isn't a sprint. It's not about achieving peak performance or going fast. It's about going deep, savoring the connection, taking your time, and learning to listen acutely to your body, allowing it to catch up with your heart's desires. There is absolutely nothing to prove. Your inherent worth as a person, as a partner, doesn't diminish simply because your physical pace needs to slow, or because your body requires more considerate handling. What many older couples discover, often to their delight, is that when they consciously stop rushing, when they prioritize open communication about their body's needs and limits, intimacy often becomes richer, more tender, and more profoundly satisfying, not weaker. But this transformation requires humility, honest communication, and the courage to release outdated, often performative ideas about what good sex should look like. If you grant yourself and your relationship that space for adaptation and gentle honesty, your body may yet surprise you with its capacity for pleasure and connection. And even if it doesn't perform in precisely the same way it used to, your ability to connect, to share affection, and to be truly close, these invaluable capacities can actually grow stronger and more meaningful if you allow them. Learning to honor your body's need for rest and a more considered pace is an act of profound wisdom and self-care. If you found this insight about pacing, rest, and redefining performance useful for your own understanding or for supporting someone else, let us know by commenting with the keyword RESTWISE below. And please consider sharing this video with anyone you think might benefit from understanding this crucial aspect of aging with grace and health. 6. The unspoken language of closeness, recognizing and nurturing emotional aftercare. For many individuals, and perhaps with increasing significance for older men, sexual intimacy isn't merely confined to the physical act itself. The moments that follow, the quiet interlude, the words or comfortable silence exchanged, the lingering physical closeness, often matter just as much, if not more, than what transpired before. This crucial period of emotional connection and reassurance is often referred to as emotional aftercare. Yet sadly, it's a component of intimacy that frequently gets overlooked or unintentionally skipped, particularly by men who may not have been socialized to recognize its importance. Many older men were raised in an era when overt emotional expression, especially around vulnerability or tenderness, wasn't actively encouraged in males. The prevailing ethos might have been more task-oriented, do the job, and move on, without necessarily dwelling on or articulating feelings and needs for connection post-act. However, as we age, and as life's experiences deepen our understanding of what truly nourishes the human spirit, the emotional dimension of intimacy often grows in importance, not lessens. When emotional aftercare is absent or insufficient, it can leave a partner, regardless of gender, but often acutely felt by women, feeling used, unvalued, disconnected, or even profoundly alone, even if the physical aspect of the encounter was, by some measures, successful or satisfactory. This emotional void can cast a shadow over the entire experience, eroding trust and warmth over time. I recall a conversation with Walter, an 82-year-old man, who candidly shared a realization that came late in his marriage. He admitted that he used to habitually roll over and fall asleep or quickly disengage almost immediately after sex. He genuinely thought this was normal, perhaps even expected, a sign that the activity was concluded. It wasn't until his partner, with considerable courage, expressed to him how this behavior made her feel, like she was merely a task to be completed, an object rather than a cherished partner, that he was profoundly shocked. He had no idea she was feeling that way. No one had ever explicitly told him or modeled for him that what happens after the main event, the simple act of holding hands, staying close, whispering a few words of affection, or even just sharing a comfortable, connected silence while lying together, is an integral part of the whole experience of intimacy, crucial for fostering ongoing connection and emotional security. For some older men, physical energy might indeed run low immediately following intimacy, and that's perfectly understandable. However, emotional openness and the capacity for gentle connection can still be high, and this is the perfect time to nurture the bond. A soft word. That was lovely. I feel so close to you. A shared, gentle laugh, a tender caress, or simply the act of remaining physically present and attuned for a few minutes. These seemingly small gestures can build immense trust and significantly reduce anxiety about future intimate encounters, especially when physical limitations or performance concerns are already in play. Furthermore, emotional aftercare plays a vital role in reinforcing self-esteem, which can be particularly important for older adults who may sometimes feel insecure about their aging bodies or their changing sexual performance. A little affirmation after sex, a genuine "I loved being close to you," or "you make me feel so good," can quietly dispel those fears, reaffirm mutual desirability, and deepen the emotional bond between partners. Ignoring emotional aftercare is akin to meticulously planting a beautiful garden, but then forgetting to water it. Over time, even the most vibrant connections can wither from emotional neglect. Conversely, when you consciously nurture the emotional side of sex, even with small, consistent gestures of aftercare, you help keep the flame of connection alive, reinforce feelings of being valued and loved, and often, quite powerfully, reignite desire for future intimacy. It transforms sex from a mere physical act into a holistic experience of love and belonging. Emotional aftercare is indeed the gentle, often unspoken glue that can hold intimacy together, making it richer and more resilient. If you recognize the profound importance of these moments of connection, reassurance, and tenderness after intimacy, please comment with the number 6 below. Your interaction and shared wisdom truly help our community grow and learn from one another. And please, don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying this deep dive into the multifaceted nature of human connection. When it comes to the intricate of sex and aging, there's a singular, overarching truth that many older men, upon reflection, often wish they had realized and embraced sooner. Intimacy is not solely, or even primarily, about maintaining youthful physical performance. It is, far more significantly, about profoundly understanding your evolving body, deeply honoring your partner and yourself, and consciously keeping your mind, heart, and spirit actively involved in every facet of the experience. The 6 truths we've explored today, the recalibration of energy, the hidden impact of medications, the ascendancy of emotional closeness, the detrimental silence around medical side effects, the wisdom of rest, and the necessity of emotional aftercare, are not intended to shame, discourage, or cast a pall over the prospect of intimacy in later life. Instead, they are offered as keys, as insights meant to open doors to better physical health, to deeper and more resilient connections, and to a renewed sense of confidence and peace in a stage of life where many individuals can feel uncertain or adrift regarding their sexuality. At our core, regardless of age, we all share a fundamental human desire to feel wanted, respected, understood, and cherished. Yet, society provides few roadmaps, and formal education offers little guidance on how intimacy gracefully evolves as we navigate the rich tapestry of our later years. That is precisely why these conversations, these shared explorations of often unspoken realities, matter so profoundly. That is why this article, and others like it that approach the topic with sensitivity and honesty, are so vital. Whether you are currently in a relationship navigating the path of intimacy on your own, or simply seeking to understand these dynamics better, the more you comprehend these hidden realities, the more empowered, prepared, and ultimately at peace you will be. It is never too late to adapt, never too late to learn, and certainly never too late to cultivate and enjoy a meaningful, satisfying, and emotionally rich, intimate life. One that truly honors who you are now, not who you used to be. And that, my friend, is perhaps the most profound secret of all, the one that is too seldom spoken aloud. The capacity for love, connection, and deep satisfaction can continue to flourish and even deepen with age, provided we approach it with awareness, compassion, and a willingness to embrace change. We sincerely hope this comprehensive discussion has been enlightening and has provided you with valuable perspectives. Now, we'd love to hear from you. After considering all this analysis, What is one small step you can take today to foster a healthier, more fulfilling, intimate life, or to support someone you care about on this journey? Share your biggest takeaway or your most resonant thought in the comments section below. Your voice, your experiences, and your wisdom are incredibly important to us and to this community. Reading your comments provides us with great motivation and encouragement to continue creating content that matters. If you found this article valuable and helpful, please show your support by hitting the like button, subscribing to our channel for more empowering content, and be sure to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on insightful and useful discussions like this in the future. Your support helps us immensely in our mission to inform, inspire, and foster open conversations. Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.